Hot stove conversations about baseball, history, football, and current events that may leave you saying there's more to consider. Now, here's your host, Jack Moore.
Welcome to another edition of More to Consider. You see that Charles and I have been kind of running a few shows here. We just talked about, we got into this question of photo cameras giving tickets. Charles, how are you, my brother?
I'm doing okay, man.
So in this conversation, Charles and I were talking about some other things that I learned in the legal world, just kind of war stories. And one of the things I was telling him about, he was a little bit shocked at. I'm going to tell this story real quick. Because when the friend contacted me about the photo ticket, I was explaining to Charles on the phone before we did the show why you never give legal advice for free. And most people are like, oh, you stuck up lawyer, you're just always trying to soak people. No, there's ramifications to it. And I gave this example. When I first started working at a personal injury firm, I had a mentor kind of guy said, hey, don't ever do anybody any favors. You're on the hook for your advice. So if you don't have a contract, well, we have a written contract. I, Jack, do hereby represent Charles for this amount of money. If we don't have a paid upon agreement, and then you bitch and moan about some advice I gave you, I may be on the hook for the bad advice. I may be on the hook for malpractice, and I don't even have a contract with you, which is frowned upon by the bar as well. So the friend of mine said, let me give you a horror story. Personal injury firm, we generally did not mess with property damage. What does that mean? You come in, you're the client. You got rear-ended, your trunk ended up in your front seat, and your car's damaged, maybe it's total loss, whatever.
Okay.
Insurance companies are 90% of the time going to settle when it's obvious liability against their insured, okay? And I mentioned this before, really the only kind of cases in personal injury that go to court are high dollar or there's questions of liability. So when you're stopped at the stoplight, you're not going to be liable. When you're literally sitting at a stoplight, there ain't much that you could ever be wrong for because you're not even motion. So here comes Betty. Go ahead.
So it's a matter of how much you're going to get, essentially.
Yes. And if there's enough damage, I tell you, I got rear-ended one time by a young lady in Blacksburg. I was coaching, and we were going to go do this tournament at Virginia Tech. And I learned something from this experience. I always look in my rearview mirror when I stop. And I realized it after this. I come to a complete stop on some major or, one of the main roads there in Blacksburg. And the moment I put foot on brake, I looked at my rearview mirror and I saw this. I looked. You see what I'm doing? See what I'm doing? So the young lady behind me dropped her cell phone in the floorboard. So she's reaching for that, and I see it coming. And my head somewhat turned because I'm like, here comes the impact, and bam. So she dropped her phone. She hits me. What I'm saying is there is no way I'm at fault. No. I have come to a complete right. She's the one that rear-ended me. So that's the one, her insured. Turned out she didn't have insurance. She told me she did. She gave me information. I called on Monday and they're like, her father dropped that 6 months ago. They're no longer insured. Okay, yeah. So I had to go through. Yeah, right. But that's the one. So anyway, back to this case. He said, we had a young man come in, great young man. I was kind of giving him that mentor process and I missed on this one. He got what he said was a great settlement for the personal injury for this woman. He did exceedingly well. She got some big bucks for her injury. So she calls him up and it's kind of a little bit of, thank you there, Sonny, for doing this great job for me. But that insurance company isn't paying me what I think my car is worth. And he goes, I tell you what, I'll make some phone calls for you. He doesn't do a contract. It's nothing in it for him. He's not going to get a percentage of the damage. He's not getting anything. You'll do that, honey? Yeah, man, I'll take care of it. Let me make some phone calls. 2 days later, he's informed that he has a complaint filed against him with the Virginia bar. He's got a complaint filed. Okay. So he's like, it's like, son of a bitch, what is this? So he calls Richmond. It's like, what's going on? Like, yeah, this lady, just called in and made a complaint. So he calls her and he goes, man, what are you doing? She goes, oh, honey, I got no problem with you, baby. Everything's good. It's just, I thought this would light a fire under your ass to get you moving faster on this. So my friend said, this is why you don't do anybody any favors. Now I say all that to say, you will have people ask you all the time these questions like, can I shoot the guy intruding into my house? Does he have to fall inside or out? Yeah. So you hear all those different things. And it's kind of tough because you want to especially help your friends and things like that. But when you go to court, And the things we were talking about the other day, I have seen miscarriages of justice would probably be one way of putting it. But I do think that people really don't know exactly how it works until, I mean, I'm sure, and I won't ask you for what, but you've been in a courtroom before, right?
Yes.
Didn't it seem to be a lot less formal than you thought it was going to be?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it is on TV. It's not even close.
So I think my greatest frustration, I'm not going to identify places or people or anything like that, but I think my greatest frustration is how I could make the exact same argument in front of 3 different judges and get 3 different results. And
that is interesting.
Oh, yeah. But so we were mentioning earlier on a show, just to give this example. In Virginia, if someone stops you as a result of a radar reading, the statute 46.2-882 of the Virginia Code states that you have to be in uniform displaying badge of authority. I hope somebody looks that up to make sure I'm right about that, but I think it's 882 of the Virginia Code. It's been a while since I looked at it. But it says if you're going to effect a stop, because you're arresting someone under the 4th Amendment, you're stopping somebody. If you're doing it on the basis of a radar reading, you have to be in uniform displaying badge of authority. So it comes into question, is that a necessary element of a stop if you're testifying, or is it only an affirmative defense? Meaning, this is what I'm saying about judges. I was before a judge one time. I thought he was going to throw me in jail. The guy never mentions that. He was like, yeah, on such and such a day, I did stop so-and-so based upon a radar reading of, and I'm like, I'm waiting for the magic words. Did it happen in the city or county that's supposed to have happened in? And I'm also looking at, are you going to ID the driver? So anyway, the one thing I said, Your Honor, I have a motion to strike, which is code word for he didn't prove his case. And he goes, well, what's that, Mr. Moore? And I said, Your Honor, there's been no testimony that the officer was wearing uniform displaying badge of authority. He goes, Mr. Moore, we're not doing that here. It was a trooper. He goes, Trooper, did you have your uniform on yet? Anything else you want to say, idiot, basically? So then I've had judges say, you know what, officer and/or trooper, he's right. You never testified to that. Dismiss. I had an 86 and a 55 on that one time. Guy was 86 and a 55, right? And the guy never testified to it. And this particular judge. So when people would say, what's going to happen to me? I say, I don't know. Well, you're the lawyer, aren't you? And I was like, it depends on the judge. What do you mean depends on the judge? I'm like, it depends on the judge, the mood they're in, and other things.
Yeah, what time what side of the bed they got up on, and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, and so I think Charles wanted me to. Okay, tell the audience what you were shocked the other day about who becomes a judge. Tell them what you said and how you were kind of shocked.
I always thought that judges had to have had some experience in the court that they're ruling over.
Yes.
To hear that a real estate attorney could go into a criminal court or traffic court, to me, is just bananas. That makes zero sense to me.
All right, so go ahead.
Yes, to hear that was just a real shock, and it made me really think as to, do they really want this right, or do they expect the judge to actually apply the law equally?
Well,
I don't think it's either one.
Well, what happens is, and I've mentioned this on shows before, and I know that some people looking that ever saw me in court like, that guy was the dumbest ass I've ever seen. Meaning me, I mean, they might think that. But I used to kind of see a phenomenon. It's never right. Some states let the people elect the judge, and then they say it's some crony that has political, is able to run a good campaign. Or, as in Virginia, the General Assembly takes nominees and, they select them by vote. Well, when I was practicing, one of the attorneys I worked with was a really connected guy. And I swear to you, and I've said this, and again, it could blow back on me like, yeah, you weren't much of an attorney either. But I remember people that had like 2 different color socks on, tripping over their briefcase. And the next week they're on the bench. So I would go back to the office with my friend and I'm like, hey, did you know that Johnson's on? Oh, yeah, you didn't know that? I said, what? He goes, yeah. He went to law school with so-and-so in the General Assembly and he's best friends with. I'm like, oh, okay, I get the connection.
Oh, wow.
So, right. So what you were saying, the story I was telling Charles the other day about frustration is, I had a young lady come to me one time who had gotten a traffic matter charge. It was pretty serious. Okay. And It was a DUI. Okay, I'll just say that. This is 20 years ago. But it was a DUI, and she was being held without bond, or she hadn't made bail, whatever it was. So she hires me, and I do paperwork, or she calls. I have to go to the jail. So I carry the paperwork. I, so-and-so, do hereby contract with Mr. Moore for the bond hearing. I said, hey, look, I'm going to get you out today, hopefully on the bond hearing. And when this hearing's over, if you want me to represent you in the trial, you're going to need to bring me X amount of dollars. Got it. You understand? This is only to get you out today. This is all my representation is. Yes, sir. I understand. Okay. Now, why I still remember these things, I don't know. Her court date was going to be November 4th. The day I got her out of jail was like September, fill in the blank, right? So we're there in September. Her court date's November 4. So, and I asked you this the other day, when do you think she brings the money in? The trial's on a Monday. Right. Friday at 4:57 p.m., she brings me the money. So I go to my assistant, like, crank up a letter, fax it, get it over to the court. I'll be there Monday morning. So I meet the cop. He was awesome. I meet the cop and I said, hey, look, dude, I haven't had a chance to get discovery from you. It's a DUI case. I want blood alcohol. I want any statement she made. It's all there. It's class 1 misdemeanor. I get discovery. And it's basically criminal history and statements. So I want that. And he goes, hey, Mr. Moore, I'm fine with that. He goes, how's December 4? That's my next day in court. I'm like, actually, I'm in a court in another place. And he goes, okay. How about January 4? And I'm like, perfect. Yeah, January 4 is good. Hey, shake on. And the guy was awesome. So we go before the judge. And the judge calls the case. And I'm like, Your Honor. And this judge had been, I believe, real estate only. So what does that mean? She never left the office. She did closing. She did real estate closings. Probably was never in court. She's somehow politically connected. And of course, she ends up being the judge. So I said, Your Honor, this is coming on. It's a motion line. So Your Honor, I have a motion to continue. And this motion continue is based upon an agreed continuance date of January 4 with the officer. Mr. Moore, do you realize that Virginia Supreme Court is coming down on us every day to speed these trials? And we don't want trials outside of 60. And she's screaming at me in front of everybody in the courtroom. And I'm like, wow. Have you ever practiced law? Anybody in the courtroom that knows, that does it for a living, like actually got paid, my clients knows, Mr. Moore didn't get paid till Friday. Everybody knows it except her. So she's screaming at me, well, what's your next court date, officer? He goes, well, it's December 4, but Mr. Moore's not available. I don't have any duty when I had something already scheduled for December 4 to be there on December 4. So she's screaming about how that makes it look for the court and all, but she's all bent out of shape about it. Oh, yeah. So she's getting all bent out of shape. And finally, she goes, well, I'm going to do this, but I want to admonish you. I don't want you ever coming in. I said, what the hell? But that was standard issue. So you would get things that would happen and it would leave you wondering. But now on the same token, I mentioned this the other day. There was a guy that had been a criminal prosecutor in a jurisdiction I'm not going to mention, but I love this guy. He was one of the younger judges. He was a class act. He treated everybody with the utmost dignity. Great guy. So I did a lot of landlord tenant. And in Virginia, if you file an unlawful detainer for non-payment of rent or any other issue, if you come to court and you were there present, the person who, if they receive possession, cannot take action to evict you for 10 days. So this judge, and I love this about some judges. I mean, I liked it because he was kind to me, but he does some stuff. And he called me Jack. He's like, Jack, can you approach? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, he covered the mic and he goes, hey, it's 10 days they get if they come to court. I said, yes, sir. I thought I was right about that. Now, he was a criminal prosecutor. He didn't do landlord tenant. So when he's on the bench now at that level of court, he has to handle everything. He's got to do everything. And when you said they are all generalists once they become a judge, there's not a traffic court judge. There may be in some states, but in Virginia, if you get that level of jurisdiction, now they may, in some of the jurisdictions I work where there were multiple of that level, they might have leaned more towards you do traffic, I'll do civil. I mean, they could do that. But when you get into smaller localities, that person has to do everything. But what this judge was saying, and so then after he asked me the 10 days, he goes, hey, you don't mind if I ask you a question every once in a while to help me? And I'm like, oh, anytime, and that didn't affect anybody else's case. He just generally wanted to know the information. And I appreciated that. But I think it is kind of shocking sometimes. The personal opinions. I said this on the show before. I literally had I was witness to judge ask one of my colleagues. First of all, let me back up. He asked a woman in a landlord tenant, or she, I'm sorry, ask a woman, you haven't paid rent in 4 months. What's up? Well, I'm a single mother. I got 2 children, blah, blah, blah. That story, right?
Yes.
Turned to my colleague and said, having heard that, what's your position? And he said, well, I'm here in representation of my client. They haven't been paid rent in 4 months. I'm asking for a judgment for possession of the property. And we're going to, of course, make the move for the unpaid rent. That will be part of the judgment. She looks at him in a black robe in a courtroom within the Commonwealth of Virginia and says, Mr. So-and-so, where's your sense of decency? So she just asked a lawyer that's representing a client that hasn't been paid rent in 4 months, where's his sense of decency? Because she says she's on hard times. Okay. You know what you do if you judge? Stroke a check. Go ahead and pay. Hey, you want to pay the 4 months of rent? Talk all you want. But the other people who also have bills to pay and mouths to feed, they haven't been paid rent in 4 months. You don't live somewhere for free. But if she wants to make some political stand, pay the rent. Step up, pay the rent. Or put the woman in a house, go pay rent for her. So that pissed me off. And there's a lot of those kind of stories. What did you want to know about some other experiences with that type of thing? What else surprised you the other day when we were talking? You were surprised by the fact that judges are covering that many different types of law. What else did you...
Just the fact that they're not doing it equally. And you would expect that one judge would rule based on the law, and you would have, what you were saying about you're an attorney, and if people ask me, so, how are things looking? And like, I don't have a clue. It all depends on how the judge is feeling.
Right.
That to the average Joe is like, wait a second, I thought we were here about the law. And
so
it's just really weird.
One of the things I saw a guy do one time that was highly political, but I was like, whatever. We represented a collection agency group basically for the 24% auto industry people. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So who buys a car at 24% interest loan? People with horrible credit. Why do they have horrible credit? Because they've never paid anything on time, right? And I'm telling you what, this guy came to court, and it was in a city in Virginia, and it was a beautiful guy. And you know what he sued the people that sold him the car at 24% interest. Do you know what he sued him for? This is beautiful. This is a beautiful story. He sued him for lack of a car, the emotional stress of not having a car. Do you know why he didn't have a car?
Why?
Take a guess. They repossessed it. Okay. They repossessed a car. When do you think was the last time he had made a payment before repossession?
6 months prior.
6 months. 6 months. Right. Guy was beautiful, but he comes out with this case that he filed in General District Court, lower court, and I get to cross-examine him. And he was a sweetheart. I said, sir, you purchased the car. Yeah. You didn't make the car payment for 6 months. No, I didn't make it for 6 months. I said, did they inform you they were going to Oh yeah, they were great. They were nicest people. They told me they were going to come get it, and they put it on a truck. It was like that. And I'm like, okay. So did they seem like they dotted every I, crossed every T as to repossess? Oh yeah. And they were really nice doing it. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're suing. Yeah, I got no car. I don't have a car. Okay. You're suing for damages related to no car, but you don't dispute that you never made the car payment or for some period and that they properly, with notice, repossessed. No, I don't dispute any of that. So the judge looks at me at the end of it and he goes, Mr. Moore, because now there's a question of, are our people that, you know what, they took the car that was like 12,000 owed on and sold it at auction for like $500. So now he owes all of this unsecured debt, all of that 11,000 and change. He owes all that with 6%. 6% on the judgment plus the 24%, okay. So the judge looks at me and says, are you people planning to sue him for the unpaid? And I looked at her, the woman there, and she's like, yeah, that's kind of what we do. I said, Your Honor, I think there's a good chance the suit will be filed. He goes, okay, here's what I'm going to do then. Oh, then he said, Mr. Moore, what is the statute of limitations on a written contract? I said 5 years. He goes, okay, then I'm going to continue this case for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, sir, if they sue you for this unpaid balance on this loan, then I'll let you bring this back. And I was like, whatever. So he's making a political statement. He basically continued right. So on the way out, the young lady that worked with the agency's like, What does that mean? I said, sue him. But I said, that case he has is not going to get any better 5 years from now or 5 weeks from now. It doesn't make any difference. That was just his way of saying, here you go, sir. Oh, and he told her, you may work for these people, but what you people are doing is unconscionable. It's awful. And he's right. I mean, he's right in a sense, 24% interest loans. But in saying that, he got his dig in by continuing it for 5 years. But I didn't really have a problem with that so much. All right. Anything else you want to say to our audience here? Leave your comment. Yeah, people, please leave comments so we can do further shows on what's happened to you in court that really pissed you off. Yes. I would love that. Yeah. Please do a show, or we'll do a show based upon the comments of what's happened to you, as much as you can get into the comments on the different things. Anything else you want to say in closing?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, so do the whole thing. Go on into the platform, subscribe, like, and comment, especially in this situation. Comment about your bad situations, potentially going to court. And, Charles, I just want to let you know, I am wearing this. I know we won game 1.
Okay.
We beat the Yankees in game 1, and they're playing right now, so I'm going to go find out what happens next. Chapman loaded the bases last night, then he got out of it, so that was pretty sweet. Go Sox.
We'll see.
Sox win the Spirit. Yeah, we'll see. All right, God bless, brother. Love you, man.
All right, you too, man. You too.
Later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, subscribe and hit your notification button to get an update when we post another episode. See you soon.